Hi, good afternoon, at least for those who are in Central European time, and welcome to this session. I can see the numbers keep increasing, so more and more people are joining in, but I'm just going to kick it off because we have a jam-packed program for the next 2 hours. I hope that you will shortly see the agenda for today. And may I ask anybody who's not speaking to mute their microphones to avoid the echo, please? Thanks. Very excited for this afternoon, and shortly you'll be able to see the agenda that we're sharing. I just wanted to let you all know that we're recording the session, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't interact, and you should still ask any questions that you want and using the chat function along the way. But we have a program ahead of us where we're going to dive into both the celebration of the circular fashion commitment that has come to an end, but also looking at the new circular fashion partnership that we're just embarking. So it's a finish and a final for one project and the kickoff of another one. So it's a really exciting agenda for today. First, I would like to just briefly introduce myself. I'm Eva. I am the CEO of a global fashion agenda and behind, for instance, the summit, which was also sort of the foundation to kick off the circular fashion commitment back in 2017. But my colleagues, Jonas and Holly and Felicity, are going to be the ones driving today and guiding you through the rest of the program. So I've just been asked to sort of say a few welcoming words. And the first thing that we're going to talk about today is, of course, like the celebration of the final report from the circular fashion commitment that we put out in 2017, and now at 2020 is coming to an end. We've reached a lot of targets and made a lot of progress with the 86 brands that participated in the project. The circular fashion commitment was set off on the stage by Jonas, my colleague, and I back in 2017 with a commitment to try to transform the industry on different parameters into a more circular system. And I remember back then that we had an aim or an ambition to, if we could reach 10% of the industry to support this initiative, we would be really proud and happy. We actually reached 12.5% of the total global market to support this first initiative and commitment. And over the course of the years, we've been following the progress and also providing toolbox and guidance to the brands that were part of this journey. But we've just been immensely impressed by the many, many results that all of these companies have made in many of the parameters. You can, of course, find the report also on our website. And also I could encourage you to maybe visit our innovation forum online that also provides some of the solution providers or exhibit some of the solution providers that can help any brand basically embark their journey on circularity. The 2020 commitment was inclusive to companies of all sizes and market segments. And I think that's really interesting. And I also think that it gives a really good variety of learnings that all these companies have willingly shared in all of the reports. The highlight was also that it was a voluntary commitment. And nevertheless, most of the brands still were, really ambitious and embarking on this journey and focusing full on throughout their value chain on delivering on the different targets that they had set. Obviously, the COVID crisis this year had to some extent halted some of the results, but for the majority of them, we've seen some really, really exciting progress. The second half of today's agenda is going to be talking about a new partnership, namely the Circular Fashion Partnership, which is a cross-sectoral project that is led by GFA, but supported by the P4G, and is focusing on how we can increase development of a recycling industry for the garment and manufacturing industry in Bangladesh. And I think this year, not least, has been a big year, especially for Bangladesh and some of the manufacturing countries out there. And this partnership could maybe unlock a whole new journey and increase focus on how the manufacturing side of our industry can become an even more integrated part of our businesses going forward. I'm going to finish off with this little intro because my colleagues are much better at sort of sharing the details and granularity of the work that is going to be done and what has gone down over the last 4 years. But one of the key partners that we've had throughout this entire process has been the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, obviously, the owner of circular economy globally, and not least, also really strong competency when it comes to circular fashion. So I'm really pleased to be able to sort of hand over the next little intro to our colleague there, Francois. Take it away.
Hey Eva, thank you very much. Really excited to be with you today, and congratulations on the progress with the 2020 commitments for circular fashion. So hey everyone, I'm Francois. I'm leading the work on fashion at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and today I want to share some thoughts on circular economy and fashion. So maybe we can go through the first slide. I don't know, Holly, what works best, but do I give you a hint when we move? Okay, perfect. So basically the idea of a circular economy is a bigger idea than just looking at reducing the harm of the current model. It's very much a sort of systemic solution that aims to tackle the root cause of challenges like pollution, climate change, or biodiversity loss. And also, while doing that, creating better opportunities for growth. And through the years at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, we've looked at the opportunity of circular economy and really saw that it makes economic sense, and also that it makes sense at a global scale. It makes sense in Europe, in India, in China, and in North America, amongst many other geographies that we've studied. And the idea of a circular economy is underpinned by 3 principles, all led by design. The first one is to eliminate waste and pollution. The second one is to keep products and materials in use. And the third one is to regenerate natural systems. And the real thing is, how does that relate to fashion? Now, how does those principles that are applicable across sectors can really tell us a story about what's the future of fashion? So we can go to the next slide. With the team at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and with over 100 organizations across the globe, we have created over the past years a vision of a circular economy for fashion that we have published earlier in October. Cool. And this vision is basically clarifying 3 areas of action for the fashion industry. The first area of action, next slide, Holly, please, is to increase the use of products. And that can be done by actually developing circular business models like resale, rental, remaking, repairing, etc. So new business models that basically aim to create more use out of products, and that will become the norm over the next decade. And to enable those business models, we need to make sure that products are made in a way that lasts, so they can be cycled through many, many uses. And we also need to make sure that the way in which those products are designed takes into account the specificities of different business models. For example, if you design a product for rental, you need to make sure that it can go through many wash cycles so that the color won't fade too quickly, so the product remains attractive, but also making sure that with accelerated wear and tear, you can prevent holes and other things in areas that get more friction, for example. The second action area is to ensure that products are made to be made again. And the first point there is to make sure that products can be easily disassembled, so all their components can be recovered to be reused, remade, or recycled. And that is, for example, what we did with the jeans redesign, where we ensured that actually the buttons, the zips, the patch can be removed very easily and very quickly, so all of that can be cycled. And the second point is to ensure the recyclability of components. So making sure that we understand what recycling can and cannot do today, so that those components can be effectively used in the recycling process. And once those components cannot be recycled anymore, if they are from renewable feedstock, they can be safely composted. And for all that to happen in practice, we need to make sure that the enabling infrastructure are available. And that means that businesses and government contribute to the development of infrastructures to collect, to sort, to reuse, to recycle, to remake products at scale. And the last part of the vision is to make sure that products are made from safe and recycled or renewable inputs. And that means first to use safe chemistry, making sure that the chemicals that are used across the industry won't cause harm to the workers or to the wearers or to the environment. But also making sure that the microfibers that may cause harm, and those could be like any type of, for example, non-biodegradable microfibers that can accumulate in ecosystems, are prevented from reaching out the environment, either by being designed out, making sure that they won't happen in the first place, or by being collected. And the second thing is to make sure that recycled inputs are used to progressively decouple the production from the use of virgin finite resources. Finite resources are stuff like oil or steel or anything that we have in finite number. And when virgin materials are necessary, then making sure that they come from renewable resources and are created through regenerative practices, so soil health can be maintained and rebuilt over time. And achieving that vision will actually require transparency and traceability across the entire industry, but also collaboration, investment, and large-scale innovation to make sure that this can happen. And the 2020 commitments are actually an amazing starting point. They've provided a great initial progress towards that vision. And now is the time to further accelerate and scale progress to make sure that this can happen over the next decade or so. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the event.
All right. Thank you so much, Francois. That's a bold vision. And we are, of course, looking very much forward to also working with you and the rest of the industry in making sure that we can reach that. It's as I mentioned, very ambitious. Let's definitely see how we can work together on this. I know we're already in good dialogue about that, so let's continue that indeed. Thank you so much, Francois. So it is an amazing day, an amazing landmark for Global Fashion Agenda. As Eva mentioned, not only are we actually launching this final report, but also officially kickstarting another project focused on circularity with the Circular Fashion Partnership. And I think, I can say that we've been working on this together with the signatories and many others since 2017, as we mentioned. So we're extremely proud of the achievements that we have reached so far. By the way, did we mention that you can actually get the report online? I think we did. But please go to the Global Fashion Agenda website and have a look at the report, the final report. I think it's great to see all the case studies, the quotations, the numerous industry tools that we put forward in the report, but of course, mainly the key achievements and learnings that has happened throughout. And you will actually be able to also see in the report each of the targets set back in 2017 by the signatories and which of them have been reached. But I mean, almost 2/3 of those targets being reached, that is really, really amazing. You'll hear from my colleague in a moment exactly in more detail about this. I think, is it enough to land on the almost 2/3 of targets being reached? I think it's at least a signal to us that we did set very ambitious targets. However, on the other hand, I think we need a lot more players to also be part of this journey in reaching ambitious targets. And you might know, in my current role leading our public affairs work, I also focus a lot on engaging the policymakers to ensure the right framework that will actually help us as an industry speed up the transition to a circular fashion system. And I mean, let's just be clear, their attention, the policymakers, their attention is definitely towards us as an industry. It's really, I mean, as many of you know, the European Commission earlier this year launched their Circular Economy Action Plan, with textiles being one out of 8 focus industries. And we'll see the first measurements from that coming to play already next year. And there's a forthcoming textile strategy coming in. And not to mention, of course, the mandatory separate collection of textiles before 2025. So it's just interesting that this morning, my colleague, our CSO, Morten, also spoke on an event hosted by one of the European Parliament groups, where there was exactly focus on the textile strategy. And I think it's just amazing to see that the attention is there from policymakers, the attention is there from the industry. And now is the time with those bold visions to even go further into this element around speeding up the pace for reaching a circular economy for our industry. But I think I will now hand over to Felicity, who will just take you through some of the main highlights from all of these brands who have made it possible and signed this and achieved a lot of the targets. But please, Felicity, over to you to take us through the achievement, learnings, and so on.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the 2020 commitment, the commitment followed a 4-action point framework focusing on circular design, collection, resale, and recycling. And our signatories were required to set at least one target against a chosen action point. You can see from this slide the overall breakdown of the results, which Jonas has already briefly mentioned. So in total, we had 207 targets set by our 86 signatories, and almost 2/3 of which were successfully reached. And as Jonas said, we really think that this is an incredible achievement for the industry, considering the challenges that the industry has faced over the past 3 years and continues to face today. So now I'm going to take you super quickly through the overall report findings before we hear from some of the signatories themselves. So targets set within circular design saw the successful delivery of 20 circular design training programs across product development teams, focusing on a number of circular design principles, which have since been embedded into a number of design briefs. And the additional creation of internal guidelines and tools enabled our signatories to better understand the circularity potential of their products. However, many of our signatories actually highlighted a lack of common industry understanding and language around circularity and their design principles, leading to a number of individual adaptations. The key learnings taken from this action point is the importance of education beyond design teams and product development teams, inclusive of consumer audiences and supply chain partners, where circularity largely remains a relatively new concept. Moving on to collection. The targets largely focused on increasing consumer touchpoints for garment collection, both online and in-store across global markets. And many of these were leveraged through a number of external solution partnerships. Our signatories found that in order to raise collection volumes, effective and engaging consumer-facing communications around collection was crucial to the success. And this year, due to local lockdowns and reduced high street shopping, ambitious collection targets set pre-COVID were hard hit. However, many were able to adapt these to online platforms and actually expressed receiving much better data and transparency over post-consumer waste flows. So in terms of the challenges within collection, our larger signatories who have gone about setting up their own collection infrastructures faced high handling costs and complex reverse logistic streams, whereas our smaller signatories faced challenges whereby finding partners that were able to handle the smaller quantities of collected garments, and also those partners located in the right geographical locations. And moving on to resale. COVID-19, as you probably know, has greatly boosted the consumer demand for secondhand clothing, which has led to a number of our signatories making resale options more widely available for consumers via a number of online and physical channels, many again with the support of collection and re-commerce solution providers. It was learned that increasing these resale touch points allowed our signatory brands to have the opportunity to establish longer term relationships with their customers going forward. And in terms of challenges, the unpredictable flows of product, both in terms of volume and qualities, were just some of the challenges faced, complicating the planning and execution of these resale these resale activities, especially during the pandemic period. And lastly, moving on to our final action point, recycling. Despite the lack of scalable technologies surrounding textile recycling at present, promising technologies were identified, and many of our signatories were successfully able to incorporate post-consumer waste into their collections. However, some still struggled to find post-consumer waste streams that met their quality requirements. Our larger signatories also made significant investments to fund research around recycling, whereas our smaller signatories were able to invest into existing solutions with the help of other industry bodies to carry out further research and pilots. And we saw that both of these opportunities highlight a huge opportunity for the industry to co-invest and collaborate with their suppliers in order to scale these technologies. So that was just a super quick overview of the report findings, and I hope you found this interesting. And as Dhana said, we really encourage you to head over to the Global Fashion Agenda website and read this final report. And I'm going to hand back over to Jonas, who's going to welcome 4 of our signatory brands for a short panel discussion. And yeah, so if our 2020 commitment speakers could now turn on their mics and their cameras, that would be great.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Felicity. It's been amazing over these last couple of months to actually see the results coming in, and for you and other colleagues to work with these results from all the signatories. And I also wanted to say big thank you to you for all the hard work that you've put into putting this together, and just really make sure to encourage all of you to have a look at the report. So on to the next element in our event. We wanted to have a brief dialogue, including some of these great companies who actually signed up back in 2017 and has been on this journey with us for more than 3 years to actually fulfill and deliver by 30th of June was the deadline, obviously, to reach the targets. And we wanted to take you through this dialogue around the 2020 commitment, and basically focus on 2 elements and 2 rounds. And the first round, we want to focus on the key achievements and learnings, and also advice that these signatories would like to bring forward from being part of the commitment for 3 years. And then, so first round will really focus on the achievements and key learnings, and then the second round on the advice. Advice basically for those who are about to start on the circularity journey, but also advice maybe to those who have started and who want to scale their activities. But I wanted to first go over to Ganni, and maybe as you get ready, Alicia, to hear from you. Just want to make sure that everybody is clear that we have Alicia Jordan from Ganni, based in Copenhagen in Denmark. We have Kevin Gelsey from Nudie Jeans, based in Gothenburg in Sweden. And we've got Shamini Dhana from Dhana Incorporated in California, US, and then obviously Simone from OVS in Italy, joining us for this discussion. So I wanted just to briefly kick it off with the first round to hear everybody's main achievements and key learnings, so that we can also inspire others to go on this journey, and hopefully also bring forward some of those maybe challenges that you've also had moving forward on this. So I wanted to kick over to you, Alicia, first of all, to maybe tell us a little bit more about the key achievements and learnings that you've had at Ganni working with circularity.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. So jumping right to it, I guess. The two key achievements that we are very proud of is, one is that we have rolled out design for circularity workshops to our product development teams. It has been a process to find the right partner, and then to actually get everyone on board. So we had not only the design team that has joined these the workshops, but also our technical teams and our production teams. So it's been a big group of people that we have really tried to align, and we tried to level out the knowledge across the group, which has been a really important part for us. And this is a still ongoing process. So we had part one of the workshop that has happened, and part two is coming up. Due to COVID, we had to do it digitally and chunk it up a bit. But nevertheless, that's like one of our key achievements, I would say. And then, of course, kind of moving on maybe on this point to key learnings as well, we have already realized that it's not enough to just roll out these workshops. So we have this point embedded in our game plan goal, which is a sustainability strategy for the next few years. So we have already committed ourselves to continue this work, which is such an important point, because one thing is to, of course, educate and be on the same page with the whole team, but the other is how are we going to move forward with this and actually embed this into our work and our collections. And the second achievement is that we are a small, medium-sized brand. So I guess some of the challenges that you have mentioned in the report when it comes to increasing the recycled post-consumer content, that these challenges were very much the ones that we have faced as well. And so the big achievement is that we have actually managed to increase the recycled post-consumer content in our collections, and we have two really big product groups that we have managed to switch to recycled post-consumer content. One of them is a software line that is launching now, and it's a rerunner, so it's not only one collection, but we actually keep it for the next year or so in our main collections, which is really great. So I guess I will maybe stop at that for now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alicia. And I just want to mention that we'll have a brief Q&A that is also open for your questions from listening in. So please keep those questions coming, and we'll make sure to address as many of them as possible in our short Q&A. Thank you so much, Alicia. I want to hand over to you, Kevin, just to hear from you. I mean, you reached all your targets, Kevin, at Nudie Jeans. So that's a great achievement in itself, right? And let me just check in on the key learnings from your side, Kevin.
Thanks, and thanks for having us as well. Regarding the key learnings, I think that one of the biggest ones are that we need to continue to work with like clear incentives that are like beneficial our consumers and users to actually engage in these repair and resale activities that we bring out. And also, like, we need to obviously continue to educate the consumers and try to encourage like the prolonged life of the garment, and establish these channels for them to actually adapt to more circular behaviors. And one of our actions to like increase the volumes of secondhand sales was also to implement a secondhand online hub, or like reuse online drops. And we also learned that when packaging secondhand garments in this kind of way, we have a great like possibility to increase the actual value of the secondhand garments also, and to communicate this to the market and the consumers, and which we think is crucial for the resale market moving forward. Yeah, those were a few learnings.
Yeah, well, I'm just interested in one more, because you actually you also said something about the recycling in terms of difficulty.
Yeah, that's right.
And what level of recycling you've actually reached. I think that was an interesting one as well.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks for notifying that. So we produced a capsule collection last year called Rebirth, where we actually managed to recycle mixed denim qualities, so both stretch fabrics and rigid fabrics, mechanically, with a positive and high qualitative results, which we have had some challenges regarding before, but like by connecting with our fabric suppliers and in regards to these challenges and needs that we have, demands of producing these qualities, we actually managed by their services to do this. And I think that's a great learning, that there's great potential and possibilities to use the existing supply chain, not like to investigate that when it comes to recycling before necessarily outsourcing these services. But then of course we're a denim brand, and around 90% of what we sell is jeans, and we only collect denim and recycle denim. So it's like easier when you have sort of a monomaterial, of course. But yeah, that was a great learning, and it opens up for future similar projects. Definitely.
Amazing. I like the way that you also bring into the perspective of the partnership with suppliers here, and certainly that's also something we will be discussing in the second part of the event today, and how supply chain partners can make a huge difference in reaching set targets. So moving on to you, Dhana, to Dhana, Shamina, I wanted to kick it over to you and see what specific main achievements and learnings at Dhana Incorporated have come about throughout the last 3 years working with the commitment.
Yes, thanks, Jonas, and thanks to the Global Fashion Agenda team for including Dhana here. We've been truly inspired by this whole process of circular fashion, and also instilling that concept with our customers. Through utilizing our 4 circularity principles, Dhana was able to create our first World Circular Memory Jacket. And we did this by providing value to the customers, and to empower them to be the solution to climate change by repurposing their old clothing into new garments. And this is also using their own clothing to combat textile waste. And that's really something the next generation is very close to their heart, which is to co-create with value, a new garment. And this particular product allowed it to do so. So we did embed all of the 4 circularity principles in this garment. And it also launched the product with the SDG goals that you can actually achieve, which is SDG goals number 13, climate action, as well as 12, which is responsible consumption and production. That's the first achievement, which is a product that embraces the customer's clothing into the garment. The second achievement I would like to share is that we promoted and we encouraged a new mindset, which is linking clothing with memories. This is a new mindset shift, and it provides the new medium to storytell with clothing, with fashion. And as long as you understand that each and every part of your travels and life, you actually wear a piece of clothing, and thereby you can storytell if you repurpose that into a new garment. And so clothing has memories. And we believe that if you inject that value that the customer actually upholds and into a garment, then they will extend their life of the garment as much as possible so that they can storytell, they can be an impact and influence in the world today. So those are the 2 achievements we fully believe, empowering the customer to be the solution to climate change and also towards circular fashion and circularity at large.
Amazing. So just before we go to you, Simone, I just want to say it's incredible to hear about these how you've moved everyone so far from sort of intangible or even ambiguous targets being set at a certain point to now practical results and achievements with finished garments. So far, finished garments from all of you that are really taking one or more of these action points into consideration. So Simone, moving over to you in terms of OVS and a slightly larger player than the ones that we've heard from so far. I wanted to just hear from you main achievements and key learnings.
Yes, of course, yes. You know, OVS operates in the mass market. If we talk about apparel, and we understood that it's quite difficult to explain circular fashion to consumers without being banal, okay, in order to explain properly what a circular fashion is. So we tried to find a way to move the first step to explain our consumer that a garment can be made from another garment and the fashion can be circular. So we created a circularity score, which is based on the complexity of design, of course, the recyclability potential of each fibers in composition. And we published for each product in our website this circularity index. We don't know what our consumers understand about that index at first, probably not so much, but it's the first step. So now they are starting to get in touch with something else, which is not the price or the quality of the product. They are making questions to themselves to understand what a circularity index is and why we are publishing it. So we have further possibilities and opportunities to explain to them why we are moving on circularity, why it is important for us and also for them. So we know that we need to work with the end in our mind, but the same has to do our consumers. So it's important to communicate properly to engage them in what circular fashion really is. The second achievement is, I think, that we clearly understood that circularity is a source of endless innovation. We can find solutions everywhere which are pretty smart or sometimes simple. So we try not to use post-consumer textile waste to make a recycled yarn, but we partner with another suppliers to make those post-consumer textile waste into dye stuff. So we use those materials which were based on cellulosic fiber material to transform them into dye stuff and to have some garments dyed with that specific dye stuff we made with post-consumer recycled waste. So yes, about the learning we had was, I can mention that we found out that working with post-consumer recycled waste on a large scale is quite difficult today for lack of availability and traceability, of course, of the material. So we need to work more on this in order to enable a proper system for collecting garments, to sort them by colors, by composition, to enable the proper recycling after the use of our consumers. And at the same time, we need to leverage on quick win solution, which are probably the post-production waste, which are coming from the cutting phase of our garments.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Simone. So moving to a quick round two in terms of focusing on the advice. I asked you if you could maybe give like one key advice to those who are about to start, you know, basically based on your experiences for what you have learned so far, but also your experiences to give one advice to those who maybe want to scale up, who are already working on circularity but want to do more. Any particular advice? And maybe if we go to you, Alicia, first, and just have a quick insight from you in terms of what advice you have.
Sure. So I guess for those who are just starting, I would say to really focus on how will this circularity commitment be embedded in the processes that you work with every day, so that it's not just like a very fragmented, siloed commitment that the company has signed and it's just sitting somewhere, but actually how can you make sure that these actions will be embedded in the daily process. So as I've mentioned, how Ganni has done it is that we have actually incorporated this framework into our 44 goals, strategic sustainability goals for the next few years. And that has really helped us, I would say, leverage this commitment to a new level, because it's not only our small sustainability team that is 2 people that would work on this, but we actually require cross collaboration with so many other teams in the company to make this work. So making sure that onboarding the employees and educating them about the importance of it, but also having that strategic leverage, I think it's so important in the beginning. And then the second learning for us in terms of actually innovating and maybe trying to tackle some of these challenges, let's say with the post-consumer recycled content and how to bring this to life. So what has really worked well for us was to engage in different types of pilot projects. So for instance, we have engaged in a Sustainable Development Goal Accelerator program with UN and Deloitte that has really helped us to step out of the office and really try to innovate and see how can we change the process of creating a product and sourcing the material. And how can we change it so that we actually achieve one of the action points, let's for instance action point 4, and that has really we have really changed the process then, and it has enabled us to see how we do it right now, how we did it previously, and how can we change the process so that we actually end up with a fabric that has a low impact, that is recycled content, and that also fits with the Ganni aesthetics and the DNA.
Amazing. And let's move quickly on in terms of advice. Maybe Simone, if you have 1 or 2 advice to bring forward as well.
Yes, for sure. We need. I think that for those who want to start, I'd suggest to move on a double path. So they need to work on projects which are much more inspirational, so creating innovative stories, but at the same time they need to boost on volumes, so they need to find some part of their collection when they can accelerate the sourcing of recycled material, for sure. And for those who want to improve their efforts, I think that they should concentrate on communication and consumers' engagement in order to involve not only those consumers who are more conscious about sustainability and circularity positive effect on it, but also the generalist consumers, those who are probably not aware about what circularity really is and how it can impact on fashion.
Right. And actually, as I want to transition a little bit into the Q&A, as there's a couple of questions coming in from the audience, and maybe to you, Kevin and Shamini, as potentially also possible for you to connect it to your advice. There's a question here coming in, and let me just read it aloud. Could you please share the economic logic behind or findings from your experience, as it is commonly assumed that circularity requires more resources, costs more than continuing with the linear model, e.g. recycled materials cost more than materials from virgin fibers, etc. So wanted to see, you know, that aspect of the financial side of things. And maybe start with you, Kevin. Is there any specific or insight that you want to bring to this?
Absolutely, great question. I think what is central for the answer is that we need to have the long-term perspective in mind when looking at these investments and procurements. And regarding our repair service and reuse program, we see positive results in regards to loyalty and the circular consumer, which actually gets another concrete reason aside from the new styles and new purchases to visit our shops, since we offer a free repair service and actually also a take back channel. So I think that looking at it long term and smaller profits, I think that we have a positive economic logic. We are still trying to figure out the actual value and cost of a repair, which we haven't been able to calculate yet, since we haven't gathered the necessary data for it, which we have initiated to do since nearly a year back now. So when having a bit more repair data and consumer behavior data, we will also be able to have some sort of indication of what a repair actually is worth. And if we had that calculation, I could give a better answer to the question. But I think that's how we generally approach that topic and question.
And just maybe handing over the same question to Shamini, any additional thoughts from your end there?
Yes, I think it's a great question. One of the things that we definitely looked at is, producing it here in the United States. And so when you do so, the cost actually goes up. And so that was one of the financial requirements that we would inculcate. But because the value created by the customers was huge to them, the opportunity cost was actually there. They were willing to take that on because it was their garments, their values, and their memories. And we, did not want to ship those garments from abroad and make it abroad, because that would then accelerate the carbon offset program if we needed to. And so, you have to definitely take a real serious consideration of where you're producing your circular fashion. And here in the US, the cost is at least 4 times more. So there you have, some of the issues connected to circular fashion.
Right. Thank you for that. That's quite substantial to take into consideration. Maybe, Alicia, you mentioned a little bit about also post-consumer waste and how you're now making sure that that feeds into your current, a couple of current products. And maybe there's another question about if you have faced any issues with quality quality issues when using this type of material. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. And I've also seen in your report that that has been mentioned by a few signatories. And well, unfortunately, yes. And I would say it kind of also depends on the material used itself. Because, for instance, we have used recycled wool from post-consumer waste, and we actually haven't had that many issues with that one. Which is great, and one of the reasons why is that the post-consumer waste has been actually handpicked from very high quality garments to begin with. So I think that was a great learning for us, because of course that really feeds into how the products are designed and what are they made of, to then the end of life, how does that look like, and is that possible to recycle that product, right? And so with the high quality garments, the issue is less. It's easier to have a high quality recycled yarn from those. But we have also used post-consumer recycled polyester, and with that we had some issues when that was being spun with a mixture of pre-consumer recycled cotton as well. And so it's just to say that for sure the quality assurance and the testing here, it has to be much more rigid. And while we embarked on this journey, we've definitely had a few learnings on the way.
Right. Okay. Good learning. And maybe to hand over to you, Simone. There is there's kind of a comment that has come in. Maybe it was a comment that also arose from Shamini's learning earlier, and basically it's saying from an LCA perspective, and maybe you can speak to this, Simone, but from an LCA perspective, of course, it's worth calculating the actual emission associated with recycling recycling a certain product. So taking that into consideration, is that something that you're already doing, Simone, at OVS, or would this be a next level for you?
Well, actually, we are running several LCA studies on our products, both for recycled textile or non-recycled textile. For sure, it's a very technical question. However, I think that, of course, we have a certain amount of carbon emission related to the recycling of a certain product, but we can avoid all the carbon emission related to the raw material production, which usually are higher than recycling process, what a recycling process can emit. I'd like also to give a feedback on the question of before related to the business logic of circularity that says that a circular fashion costs more. But I would suggest to figure out if we allocate to the product all the value we lose in a linear fashion when we throw away something and we have to sustain costs for waste disposal, to treat wastewater, etc. So usually we have to say that sustainability in general costs less than unsustainability. The only difference is that when you buy a sustainable product, you buy a product with all the related costs allocated to the product. But when you buy an unsustainable product, probably certain costs are sustained by the society, by the environment, by other people, and they are not allocated to your product. And so the circular product as well. So I think the question is wrong, not the answer. So when we think that a circular product is more expensive than a linear one, it's true, but just because we are not allocating all the related costs and loss of value of a linear product.
Right. Thank you so much, guys. I wanted to just also bring Francois back in. Just so Francois, I just want to make sure, I mean, now hearing also from a number of companies here regarding quality and cost issues and thoughts and learnings. I just wanted to maybe bring it back to you before we have a short break. Just maybe 1 or 2 minutes from your side. how are we going to reach that very, very ambitious vision that you've just put out and explained to us?
That's an excellent question, Jonas. And I think we've heard some of the solutions in the conversation right before. Definitely what we've experienced since we worked on circular economy transition is that the problem is just way too big for a single organization to try and tackle it by itself. So there's a need for collaboration. There's a need for, and when we talk about collaboration, there's a need for more practical ways of working together and kind of aligning on what are the key innovation challenges that need to be solved. There's a need to make sure that we can start to tackle the problem from a lot of different ways. So of course, trying to integrate recycled content is important, but also making sure that the products that you put on the market are themselves recyclable. So over time, they can help have a better quality feedstock, have a feedstock that's more cost effective to recycle is really important. And then there's also the aspect of technology that can come in to help streamline some of those points that are currently very costly. So if you look at what makes recycling very costly today, the sorting and the collection of clothing is really expensive because it's often extreme manual and it's very difficult to know what type of materials are in the product. So it takes a long time to get a few products that can effectively be sent to recycling. If you streamline that with more traceability of the product, then all that sorting becomes a lot more effective, and that contributes to a lower cost of recycled input. So, and then also one of the very big points is a question of volume and a question of where the incentives are today for the industry. Today, we look at the success of companies mostly through growth in terms of volume, in terms of sales. What we feel is going to be very important for the next phase of what the industry needs to do is to change the way in which we measure success, to look at how much use companies get out of the products that they put on the market. And from our analysis, it's the only way we can tackle the issues of overproduction and overconsumption, because we can look at reducing the marginal impact of our products, but if fundamentally we keep on making more of those, that's a losing battle. Like, we're never going to succeed in staying within a 1.5 degree trajectory, like you guys brilliantly showed over the summer with the report you did with McKinsey. So at the core, there's a need to really invest in ways to increase clothing utilization, and that creates more opportunities from the product. And by creating more opportunities from the product, you can also justify a marginally higher cost per product because you can spread it over more use, over more like revenue cycles. I think those are kind of some more fundamental changes that will need to happen if we are to be successful with that broad ambition and broad transition.
Amazing. Thank you, Francois. And thank you for also pointing to the previous report, Fashion on Climate, that was put out earlier this year by GFA. I want to thank everyone on the panel. And we are now breaking just 2 minutes. Thank you, everyone. And we will just have a short break for everyone to be able to stretch your legs, get yourself a coffee, and we'll be back with the official launch of a new and exciting project together that FA needs together with BGMEA and Reverse Resources and supported by P4G, the Circular Fashion Partnership. So please be back again at the hour. So that's in a very short time. So there will be a very short break. Thank you so much.
So, hello everyone. That has been a super short break. I hope you had the opportunity to stand up, move your body, grab something to drink, depending on whatever time zone you're in, and to join us back for the second part of the Circular Fashion event. My name is Holly Syrett, and whoops, there we go. I'm a Senior Sustainability Manager at Global Fashion Agenda. I'll be taking you through this part of the presentation together with one of our key partners within the Circular Fashion Partnership, Nim Castle, who's the co-founder at Reverse Resources. So we'll both be hosting this part of the presentation, and I just want to say a huge welcome to you all dialing in from all over the world. Over 160 people now online, which is really amazing and very promising for what the circular future of fashion will look like. So thank you for joining us. The next hour, or just under the hour, will consist out of a few different elements. We'll have opening remarks from Dr. Rubana Huq, who is the president of the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association. I will then introduce part of the objectives of the Circular Fashion Partnership and introduced a few of the different partners and participants who have joined us in this initiative, also extending an invitation to more people to join. Then we'll hand over to hear from the Reverse Resources team about the different business models for circularity that we'll be testing within the Circular Fashion Partnership. And then we have a dialogue. So similar as the previous part of the meeting today, or the event today, we'll be hearing from different organizations, different perspectives throughout the value chain about their challenges and objectives in implementing circularity. We'll, time dependent, hopefully be able to answer a few of your questions, so please keep them coming through over the chat. And of course, we'll be sharing a recording afterwards as well, so we'll be able to hopefully answer any of the last questions that we don't after the call. And then lastly, but not leastly in this hour, last but not least, we'll welcome to other partners of the Circular Fashion Partnership. So we'll be hearing from Partnership for Growth, which is our grantor and a special ambassador for the Bangladesh manufacturing industry as well. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker for the day, Dr. Rubana Huq, again, the president of the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association. Dr. Huq, when you're ready, I would invite you to turn on your video and on your microphone. You already have, and I'll hand over to you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for, I'm not sure my connection's very, can you hear me?
We can hear you. It does seem your connection might be a little bit shaky, but I can definitely hear you.
Yes, it's very bad today. I apologize, but I will keep my video off because the connection's really, really unstable today and I cannot do anything about it. So I beg apology on that account. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. I'll be very brief, just a few words actually. So for us, the word circular economy is just no more a concept. It is the future. And we have to embrace it if we are to make the world sustainable. The planetary boundaries of the world now are of course at huge risk, and we are consuming much more, I guess around 1.7 times higher than its capacity. And we now stand at a point that we cannot afford to use virgin material at a rate that we are currently consuming right now. So the global fashion industry has a huge role to play, shifting this entire linear model of economy to a circular one. And I mean, that's the only way by which we can actually conserve the resources. So on this backdrop, the Circular Fashion Partnership has been created, and we are part of this initiative, and we are incredibly proud to be a part of this. Now, the circular way of, I'll try and switch my video on and see whether it works now. The circular way of doing business, though it's a new concept now, and it's supposed to be challenging, and it is challenging, and it's a huge task, but we are just at a starting point of a long marathon. And global fashion industry, as we all know, has been based on take, make, and dispose, and now it's the time to close the loop. And we all know that, you know, if we do have wide-scale adoption of circular business models, we may be able to reduce our carbon footprint of the fashion industry by around 10%. So the main idea of the activities that the partnership plans to do is basically maximize the textile waste through segregation at source based on composition and color. And ultimately, it's through the joint collaboration of the brands and the factories that will be able to trace the waste in the value chain with the proper sorting management. And this should become, you know, the value of waste should become, of course, you know, it would increase substantially. So all of you know that, you know, Bangladesh is the second largest manufacturer of the world. And therefore, we are also one of the largest producers of textile scraps, with arguably the most in demand and recyclable waste of any garment producing country. So around 400,000 tons of post-production textile waste is produced annually. So the size of Bangladeshi factory is much larger than any other factory, and factories typically produce larger volumes of the same item, meaning that waste is more standardized. So there are larger volumes of the same waste being produced in the same locations. So around 65% to 68% of our garment being produced are cotton, and we have cotton-rich textiles. And all of us know that, you know, cotton is the most recyclable waste composition at the moment, which is suitable for both mechanical and chemical cellulosic recycling processes. So the majority of production is knit, which is also the most preferred textile construction to recycle, not only among mechanical recyclers, but also emerging also emerging cellulosic recyclers. So what is the need of the hour? The need of the hour is actually a comprehensive circular economy policy in Bangladesh, which is required because we need to regulate the highly unregulated informal businesses that actually circles around the landscape of waste in Bangladesh. Now, there are existing systems in Bangladesh, which is very informal, and we cannot be proposing an alternative system overnight to that. But we have to co-engage with the existing players and mainstream the circular business so that we can align each and every stakeholder so that everybody feels that there is a win-win situation for all. Nobody wants to lose at this point of time. And in order to do that, we have to develop capacity of the traders built on the policy of circular economy and develop meaningful case studies. But once again, you know, it has to have, it has to make business sense for everyone. So Bangladesh, basically under just two basic HS code, 5202 and 6310, Bangladesh has exported around $84.7 million worth of textile waste, mainly to India. So with domestically adding value, Bangladesh can actually enhance the export earnings also. So we have come up with a survey where it's clearly, we've spotted a survey where it clearly says that, you know, there is almost $4 billion worth of business is being lost in Bangladesh from recycling. So it is a potential area of business. So currently Bangladesh is doing less than 5% recycling domestically. So we need to have more investment so that we end up having more recycling facilities domestically to improve the business case. Globally, the demand for circular products, of course, are increasing. Brands are coming with different pledges. So manufacturers also cannot afford to remain indifferent. Rather, we have to also align ourselves to the global trend and demands. And we have the possibility to be global leaders in the area of circular economy. So the earlier we opt for this option, the better we will be. But of course, for us, the culture and customs in Bangladesh is far different than that of Estonia or any other European country. So I would like to draw the attention of Reverse Resources so that they can actually think of a more customized solution, more localized and more tailored to our home, to our domestic needs, because that's the only way we're going to be able to actually engage in circular business. Capacity building, of course, is the key of everyone in Bangladesh, and we don't have any proper demonstration of circular business. Therefore, a massive capacity development is required, be it in the manufacturers level, be it in the mid-level management or the policymakers. So we need to have a playbook on circular business model. Now, BGMEA always has welcomed initiatives in the area of sustainability. We have signed up with UNFCCC, contributed to the vision document of MFC, Making Fashion Circular by MacArthur Foundation, and being voluntarily partnering in this initiative as well. So I hope BGMEA can be a good platform to develop the capacity of the industry in circular economy, but of course, support is key from all partners. On top of everything, you know, finance has always been a key area of concern for all of us, not only just an entrepreneur, but if I want to invest in actually circular economy business that cannot be bankable or financed through the existing finance mechanism. So we have been engaging with the central bank and the policymakers to have a more comprehensive incentive mechanism for investors. So if we at all want to shift to the circular economy from the linear one. So banks should also consider a customized approach to support our businesses. So, you know, while we're enthusiastic about circular economy, let me also end by saying that we are equally fearful, because the principles of circular economy is designing out waste and pollution, keeping products and materials in use and regenerating natural systems. But RMG industry in countries like Bangladesh have flourished based on the fast fashion culture in EU and US. So while we are trying to move towards circular economy, we have to be very cautious about the economic impact on the manufacturers, so that, you know, we can offset the negative impact of circular economy. So in this day and world, when we hear about nearshoring and about, you know, a lot of stress on lead times, we also need to understand that there is a set rhetoric around circularity that goes around the globe. And at this point of time, what we need to do is we need to also trace hypocrisy within our own selves, be it manufacturers, be it brands, be it anybody in between, but we need to also be acutely conscious of our collective responsibility to the globe, to the earth that we live in, because we often say that, you know, less is better, but, and I'm not saying that more is better, but what I'm saying is that conscious consumerism, responsibility to be interwoven in the entire discourse of circularity is a must, along with a specific insertion of also accountability from every stakeholder. Thank you for patiently listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rabana, and what mind-blowing statistics to hear about the scale of waste streams now in Bangladesh, but also the huge opportunity that brings. And thank you also for flagging the different ways of seeing circularity and the awareness that the Bangladesh economy has flourished over fast fashion and the quantities. So how can we ensure that when we're looking at environmental adaptations, keeping materials, closing the loops, that we also consider the people who will be impacted by that and to work collectively. I'm very appreciative. BGMEA are one of the core partners in the Circular Fashion Partnership, as is Reverse Resources and a few others that I'll be introducing shortly. I wanted to share with you what our main objectives are within this partnership and introduce those different partners before handing over to the Reverse Resources team. So just to start with, the partnership is a cross-sectorial project that's geared to support the development of the recycling industry in Bangladesh. And within the project, we work on two different work streams. So the first is focused around waste cuttings. So we'll be working together with different partners across the value cycle to capture and direct post-production fashion waste back into the production of new fashion products. So we'll be first focusing on mapping and understanding where those waste streams are, how they can be recycled, and then how they can be incorporated back into new fashion products. The second work stream is focused on finding solutions for the COVID-19 related pileup of excess stock. So that's really, again, mapping and understanding, is there excess stock, dead stock, where is it, and how can it be used? What's the need for a solution, and how can we test that out? So it's really a twofold approach. Overall, we're looking to achieve a scalable transition to a circular fashion system in Bangladesh, and the initiative, when successful, won't only be limited to Bangladesh, but also has potential to scale to other markets as well, such as Vietnam and Indonesia. So it's very exciting. The project runs until the end of next year, and we'll be working together to really test out and develop a playbook for circularity, to use Rubana's words, to identify where are challenges or where are roadblocks that are currently preventing from circularity from scaling up, and how can we overcome them. And roadblocks may be in mapping and knowing where waste streams are, having access to data, traceability, but also regulatory roadblocks, and maybe the need for investment as well to scale innovations. So I'd like to introduce the different partners working within this project. GFA has a role of a facilitator and communicating about the initiative. So from now onwards, you'll also find information about the Circular Fashion Partnership on our website, and they'll be communicating frequently about the evolution of the initiative and what challenges we face and how they are overcome. Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association, of course, engaging with the community in Bangladesh and representing the manufacturer's perspective, engaging with the national authorities there as well, and Reverse Resources, who are a technology organization specialized in circular business models and who help provide traceability and understanding into the waste streams. Two affiliate partners who are also joining us on the call today, Partnership for Growth, are Granter, who's made it possible to realize a cross-sectorial partnership, and Cyclo, who's specialized in recycling fibers and also based in Bangladesh with years of experience there. So this is really the core team. We're organizing the partnership, but we are of course also very excited to welcome our first participants, and a few of those we've already heard on the call, the first section of today, or we'll be hearing later on. So a big welcome to our brand participants, OVS, Simona on the call, Bestseller, H&M Group, Pull & Bear and Bershka, both Inditex brands. Three manufacturers who have already joined the initiative, the Bitopi Group, MAS Intimates and Fakir Knitwear. Big welcome to you all. And then on the recycler side, or recycling solutions, we have Cyclo, also an affiliate partner, and Renewcell. So a big welcome to you all. And so within the partnership, it's possible to participate as a brand, as a manufacturer, or as a recycling solution. Brands have to have manufacturing in Bangladesh, manufacturers, manufacturing facilities in the country, and recyclers either working in the country or with the ambition to do so. And to hear more about how we collaborate together within this partnership and how you can join, I will hand over to Ning Castle, who's one of our main partners at Reverse Resources. She'll be introducing the two different work streams of the business models. So Nin, whenever you're ready, I will mute myself and hand over to you.
Thanks, Holly. Yeah, my name is Nin Castle. I'm co-founder of Best Resources and working very closely with Holly in this project. I'll be very quick because we're running a little bit behind time. So as Holly mentioned, there are two work streams. There are two optional work streams. The first one is the circular fashion waste business model. And here we're really focusing on putting post-production textile waste back into the textile supply chain. And we approach this in two different stages. So the first stage is to establishing segregation processes to start mapping waste streams and tracing these waste streams to recyclers that already exist in the RR network or selected by a brand. Currently in Bangladesh, Dr. Hook mentioned earlier that the waste is sort of mixed together and sold on cheap and quick, and mixing the waste together means that it loses its value instantly. So a key part of it is to set up these waste segregation processes in the factories themselves. Then we have formal waste handling partners already established in Bangladesh that can then provide the services of logistics, storage, further quality checking, any further cleaning, and so on and so forth, accumulating volumes from different locations to then send out to recyclers. And then, of course, we have the recyclers at the other end. And the aim is what we have proven is that by setting up the segregation, by having one formal waste handling partner, is we can actually increase earnings for the factories and decrease costs for the recyclers on the other end, whilst providing completely traceable waste feedstocks for those recycling technologies, which at the moment is not possible. So the second stage is very much to bring the recycler and the brand together, to work on how to introduce these waste streams back into the supply chain. So opportunities here are working to improve quality, but also as well within the partnership and having a group of brands and manufacturers and recyclers to also talk about different pricing mechanisms. We need to make recycled yarns competitive with virgin, and this is a fantastic opportunity to explore that. Lastly, our fantastic partners, BGMEA, on the ground in Bangladesh, of Best Resources, we also have an office in Bangladesh and team members there, but we really will work very closely as well to talk about the policy changes that need to happen and how to break down these market barriers and really drive and establish a recycling industry in Bangladesh itself, because there is so much potential for Bangladesh to really make itself a leading production country for the circular economy. The second work stream is about the circular fashion stock marketplace. There isn't currently a marketplace for Bangladesh for dead stock fabrics and overstock garments piled up from COVID-19. So we're looking into how we can co-create and test potential business models here. How can we get these to reuse these valuable waste streams in the same location where they are stored? How do we create systems and information flow, more importantly, for enabling brands or agents, or whoever it is, to reuse those textiles themselves? And how can this be done easily in its scale? So Holly, thank you very much. That's a quick introduction to the two work streams.
I apologize. I just had a little bit of difficulty unmuting myself. Thank you so much for Nin, and also for the super speedy run through of the different work streams. We do have MOUs available explaining how you can join the partnership and more detail about that. So you can just ping us an email and we'll be able to get them to you. So with no further ado, we would then like to introduce three panelists, and Nin will be taking the floor with them to talk a little bit more about their involvement in the Circular Fashion Partnership and the challenges that their organisations are facing, and basically why they believe we should collaborate to expand on circularity in Bangladesh. So we have Alexander Gramberg, the Sustainability and Project Specialist at BESTSELLER. Welcome, Alexander. Jenny Frederiksdotter, the Circular Business Manager at Renewcell Recycling, and Mr. Hassan Mahmood, the Executive Director at the Bitopi Group, and who are participating with their Terrasema Apparel's Limited factory. So welcome all. Please feel free to unmute yourself and turn on your video. And I'll hand back over to Nin for questions.
Thanks, Holly, and welcome to a fantastic panel. I'll kick off straight away, asking you to each to introduce yourselves, who you are, who you work for, and most importantly, why have you joined the partnership? What's in it for you? What do you want to get out of this work that we're doing? And Jenny, why don't we kickstart with yourselves?
Hello, good afternoon to you, all of you who are in Europe, and good day to you, to others. My name is Jenny Fredriksdotter. I'm the Circular Business Manager at Renewcell. We are a Swedish company, a sustain tech company working with textile recycling, mainly of cellulosic materials. And we are very pleased to be part of this panel. And of course, for us, the raw material sourcing and the collection is key to what we do. We use only textile waste for our production. And we find that there is a need to have an organized way of buying textile waste from production. So it's very valuable to us and a key source of material.
So your main desire is to help with the sourcing of your raw materials for your process?
Yes, coordinating and organizing the sourcing and control the quality of the feedstock.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Alexander, would you like to go next?
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. And hi, Ning. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here. I'm excited to take part of this panel. My name is Alexander. I have a background working in buying and also supply chain management, you can say. So today I work as a project specialist for BESTSELLER. My role is to implement new innovations and new innovative projects within BESTSELLER's supply chain, you can say. I work as the link between different stakeholders and our brands, you can say. And our goal within BESTSELLER and our North Star, as we say, is to become circular by design. We are constantly exploring new technologies and new innovation to help transform the fashion industry and to be less independent on virgin resources. And our main objectives, of course, to join this partnership is the traceability, to actually be able to map our waste streams and to cooperate across departments and to set new industry standards.
Okay, so traceability is something as well we will touch more upon in our discussions. Hassan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nin. And my name is Hassan, and I'm the Executive Director of Bitopi Group. We have as good as 5 production facilities, where out of them, 3 are LEED certified. And amongst them, one of them is the highest score holder in the world. So our attitude or our view is like that we are already practicing this 3R concept, that is reduce, reuse, and recycle. So, but with the fabric, we did not recycle, or we did not have any idea about that. We used to create energy, generate energy through that, and we used to run our boiler on that. So this is a new concept for us, that we can reuse or recycle this cutting waste. So there are some challenges we'll go on. So this is what is the short introduction of that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I will kick off straight off into some conversation about the importance of traceability or verification proof of where waste is and where it's gone. Alexander, you mentioned briefly the interest in mapping waste. You can tell us a little bit more about that. What's the value for that for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we as a brand today, we are accountable for everything that we do and what we produce, you can say. So it's really important that we have like a transparency towards our customers, so we actually can show that we are what we want to be. And in these systems that exist currently today, there is a lack of information and data, so it's very much needed.
Mm-hmm. And Jenny, can you talk a little bit about what traceability value has for you as a recycler perspective?
Yes, of course, the same goes for Renewcell as for Bestseller. We need to be able to secure where our raw material comes from. Our customers requires information on the source, of course, where it was bought and what type of material is there, from what kind of chemicals might be inside. And for us, it's also crucial, of course, to know exactly what it is that we get. What kind of dyes are used, what kind of chemicals are used in the product, because we have to take responsibility for all our production, including the treatment of the product. So yeah, the traceability here is key.
And of course, the traceability starts at in this case, at the manufacturer who produces the waste. And I know, Hassan, we have just started working together now, beginning to set up these segregation systems in your facility. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your initial thoughts, your thoughts now, and how you're approaching this? Is it a big ask or is it doable?
Yeah. First of all, you heard from Dr. Rubana Haq, our BGMEA president, that this is not a requirement, this is the future. So we have to do it. And the brands are also interested on that. So we started doing on this, and the challenges are with the handlers. Segregation, traceability is needed. Yeah, for everything. We need to know that where our waste are being used. So at this moment, traceability for us is needed, but the segregation. Well, this is a new aspect, so we have to look into it. We are doing some homework, and we started working with our segregation persons. So they are challenging because they are not in it. So we have to train them. This we have on 3rd of December, we have a meeting with your team in the factory. So where we will find the possibility to make this easier. But we have carried out some homework, and it's doable. It will be not easy, but it is doable because the waste are mixed up with the dirt, with the dust, with fabrics, with many things. So we have to segregate them, isolate them, keep them, and then only pack them. So this is what it is, but we have to do it. We can do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, once we've set up the segregation processes, which typically valorizes waste instantly within the manufacturers, we then need to link that with the recyclers. And we've talked a little bit about the need of waste handlers, these middlemen. Traditionally we see, or currently we see in Bangladesh, that waste flows between 3 to 5 different traders, which of course really increases the price dramatically for the recyclers at the other end. But I was wondering, from your perspective, Jenny, have you worked directly with factories before? Has that been successful for you? What have been is it a benefit having a waste handler, or would you prefer just to go straight to a factory?
Well, we have worked with several mills before, and we will do so also in the future. But of course, that depends on the scale and the setup of the producer. If they have the organization in place to do the work, no problem, we can work directly with them. But we see from many suppliers' side that they don't have the setup, and it's hard to implement in their own facility. So we welcome both. We can work directly with the mill, but we also welcome organized coordination, let's say, especially for logistic reasons. We usually buy container loads of waste as we transport by sea to our plant in Sweden. So some some factories will have to wait a long time to collect the right material, and then it would be helpful if we can put them together with other sources, of course.
So it's an issue of sort of scaling the supply, I suppose, to be regular and efficient.
And also, I would like to add that also some maybe smaller factories, they don't have the setup and the knowledge about how to export and so on, or they might not have the right baling facilities in-house and so on. So that could also be an issue for them. So for big plants, they normally have it, but for smaller, they don't.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost a more inclusive, I suppose, not just to only include the big players, but also to include the more small and medium-sized factories as well.
Yes.
Alexander, I was wondering, you have as well with Bestseller already started working with Cyclo, who we've gone over as our affiliate partner. If you're already doing this, why do you need us? Why are you part of this partnership?
Exactly. No, but of course, I think when we started up this project, we also noticed that there are a few, to be able to scale, we need to work together. We need to cooperate through the brands to set like a new industry standard, to also be able to approach the manufacturers in a different way, of course. Because there are a few challenges within this product that we noticed when we started up. For example, we have a supplier that are using an incinerator boiler to actually burn their waste. And of course, it was really hard for us to prove the business case towards the manufacturer to stop burning their waste. But we managed, of course. But I think to have a joint approach to this will also be much easier in the future.
Yeah, collaboration is key, and a topic I would really like to cover as well in this panel. But before we do so, there is other elephant in the room, and that is the price of recycled yarn compared to virgin equivalent. And this is a really big issue for everybody involved. You know, if consumers were actually really willing to pay premium prices, we would be able to be a lot further on than we currently are. What do you see, Alexander, as well, going to your side for this in terms of how can we create efficiencies to become more competitive with the pricing?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a very big question, of course, but we do need to see the pricing module here in two different ways, because of course it's an investment for a better future. It's an investment with a holistic perspective. But I would also like to tell, or to tell the recyclers out there that in order to scale, we also need to make them benchmark their fibers against more commercial fibers, you can say.
Mm-hmm. And Jenny, for you, how about how easy is it to source post-industrial waste? And what are the costs in terms of post-consumer waste and post-industrial waste, and how that affects your pricings?
Yes, today the post-consumer waste is quite easy for us to source, but it's very expensive. It's a raw material that many brands are interested in, but we also want to work with industrial waste to be able to secure that these type of materials are also recycled. So there is a significant difference in cost, but it has been easier for us to source post-consumer waste at scale with the secure the traceability compared to the industrial waste. When it comes to industrial waste, we have had some or quite many shipments actually where we didn't get exactly what we thought we were buying, and that affects the cost, of course, for us and for the sellers. So if we can secure the quality of the industrial waste, it's also a valuable source of raw material for us. And we want that part to increase, but it needs coordination at site, not in our facility, because we don't have any sorting in-house.
Well, we are here to help.
Good.
We are just overlapping into our Q&A time. So I would have really liked to finish this panel discussion talking about this importance of collaboration. So Jenny, how do you see collaboration helps you reduce some of your market barriers?
No, but yeah, but this is the traceability and the cooperation. This is the key. Many brands want to secure that it's their material ending up in our recycling, and then in the next step ending up in fibers. But most brands are too small or have too small production at each place. So if the brands can work together in securing the raw material, we can also help them to secure fibers made from their raw material. But it's impossible to do for one brand alone, unless you are like market leader.
Okay. Mr. Hassan, what does collaboration help, this sort of collaboration, not only just with manufacturers together, but also brands together in Bangladesh? How does this help you?
Yes, this is, as I said, that this will become a demand. And the start we are doing with 100% cotton fabrics waste. So I collected the data for last 2 years, and I found that 10% of our total fabric purchase is being used for this. So that means 10% waste is 100% cotton, 12% waste is that is synthetic, and rest 78% is blended fabric. So we can use only 10% at this moment because we are not using for synthetic fabrics. So this 10% we can use. This is a very small amount of waste that we will be sending for recycling. So that's not a big issue. And our incineration or for other use, the waste are being used can continue.
Thanks, Hassan. And lastly, Alexander, what are your thoughts about the important collaboration for you?
Yeah, sorry. No, as I previously shared, there are a few challenges within recycling and set up a circular system towards the suppliers. And really, if we can come together, we can also prove the business case to the suppliers, which are not on board yet, so to say. So with collaboration, we can just do things better and do it more circular.
Thank you very much indeed. Holly, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nin, and everyone. We have 5 minutes left for a short Q&A, but of course we are available as a team to answer any other questions that you do have about the partnership and the commitments. Just looking at the questions that came through. So there's a few similar questions, and they really link to the inclusion of social elements or social impacts, such as gender equity, within the definitions of circular economy, and that current definitions don't always encompass social impact, and if we believe they should be revised, or how do we handle that within the partnership? So I suppose that's a question to you all. Nin, would you like to start on the topic?
Yeah, I will do. We've touched upon the issue that the waste at the moment is handled in a very informal market in Bangladesh, and this is creating very large market barriers and costs to these recycled yarns, and I think within these formal markets, we need to slowly move this waste into formalized industries and companies where we can actually improve workers' rights within them, and also as well by promoting and hopefully really establishing a recycling industry within Bangladesh as well. And those types of companies that are typically very focused on being not only regenerative, but also inclusive, with strong, sustainable, sort of an ethical commitments. I really hope and I really believe that there's a really great opportunity to actually really drive not only sustainable initiatives, but also ethical initiatives within this emerging recycling industry in the country.
Thank you, and I hope that was that answered a few of the different questions that we received. And maybe one more. So a few of the questions that we've received are about both post-consumer waste and post-industrial waste, and what are the pros and cons for each of them. And I know, Jenny, you talked a little bit to it. But what do you think that, are there benefits of focusing on post-industrial first?
Yes, so when it comes to post-industrial, what could be, if it's handled in the right way and separated according to like color and the fiber content, it would make life easier for us, of course, because then we have a homogeneous feedstock that we can feed into our production and then treat it in the right way. When it comes to post-consumer waste, of course, we are trying to secure the fiber content and so on, but we could never be sure of what chemicals have been used, what dyes have been used, because it can be either old or new garments. We don't know that. So it's easier to control the chemical aspects of the industrial waste or the post-industrial waste. So that is a pro, that we, if handled correctly, it's should be an easier feedstock when it comes to chemicals.
Thank you. And that actually hits the nail on the head for a few of the other questions that came in as well. So one more, I've received a question about education and how do consumers need to be educated in relation to recycled materials, but also what education do we believe is needed within organizations, so both within manufacturing organizations and within brands. Maybe Mr. Hassan, do you believe this is a topic that is broached within your facility? And maybe then after segueing into Alexander to hear the manufacturer and the brand perspective?
Yeah, a lot of education is needed for this. We started doing that, and we will be doing more in coming week. So because the handlers, the waste handlers are completely raw, so they don't have any knowledge about that. So we have to make the separate boxes, some sacks to use them, and then training them so that how the dirty materials could be bagged. So these are the education that we have to educate these working forces in the cutting table people are working on. So a lot of things are needed, in fact.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I suppose standardization and alignment across what is actually needed is critical there as well. So I believe it was Kevin Gelsey from Nudie at the beginning of today's event who was really talking about the data that's needed to determine value, and also the standardization as brands are now becoming more aware and more involved in closing the loop and demanding waste streams. How can we standardize that so we're educating in one common language, I guess?
But can I interrupt? I have calculated the rate that we are getting with this. So even if we use our own people, we can make some profit because the selling rate is quite high. And if we recruit separate persons for tables, for each of the cutting table, then only we lose the business. So we are trying to educate our people, existing people, and overtask them so that the in-house people can manage it, so that we can make some business out of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and the importance of the business model, of course, in all of what we're working on. And so, Alexander, would you like to wrap up and share your perspective in minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Now I can share some experience, from how we have worked with it. A real catalyst of using more recycled materials within BESTSELLER has also been to do knowledge sharing and product sharing with our design team and buying team and the sales team, actually, to understand the whole process about recycling.
Yeah, So really bringing
Yeah.
in people from all different departments to work together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much to you all, Alexander, Hassan, Jenny, Nin. Thank you too. I'd now like to introduce the last speakers of the day, and thank again everyone for being with us for these 2 hours. And we know it's late, especially from everyone dialing in from Bangladesh. So last but definitely not least are Layla Surat, the head of strategy, strategy engagement at Partnership for Growth, the grantor behind this cross-sectorial partnership, and Mustafis Udin, who's from Denim Expert Limited and the CEO of the Bangladesh Apparel Exchange engagement, and who's been very involved in us developing this project and a great ambassador as well. So I'd like to hand over firstly to Layla and give you the last part of the stage for the closing remarks.
Wonderful. Can you hear me okay? So P4G, Partnering for Green Growth and Global Goals, is proud to support this really innovative partnership and the work of GFA, and specifically this project, Circular Fashion Partnership. And just to give a brief introduction on P4G before turning it over for closing remarks to good colleague Mustavits. P4G is a global platform that was launched 3 years ago, and we work to support this exact type of innovative partnership to make good on these global commitments to the SDGs and climate change, and also to solve problems that can't be solved individually. And we heard on this last panel, Bestseller was saying that they're already working with Cyclo, and yet the reality is that really to jumpstart this circular model in Bangladesh and then globally, it can't be solved with just one brand and one recycler and one manufacturer. And that's the type of partnership that P4G is looking to support, to create green growth opportunities in countries and to support concrete work on the ground. We have a network of partner countries that involve Bangladesh, Indonesia, Vietnam, also Netherlands, Denmark, Korea, and a number of other countries. And so we're very excited to see the outcomes of this partnership and see how it can be scaled to some of our other partner countries. We congratulate GFA on both the work that they've accomplished under the 2020 commitment and the continuing work there, and now this new partnership and project, and to focus very specifically on creating these green growth opportunities in Bangladesh. And I loved the opening remarks for this second half of the event that Dr. Hook presented, and how in the end, there has to be a business case. And that's the type of partnership that P4G is looking to support, are those where working together on a global level, bringing together many different players, we can help to accelerate the development of the new business models to create green, sustainable development pathways. At this point, I'd love to turn it over to Mustafis Udin, who has really been a champion for sustainability in Bangladesh in the textile field. And I think many of you know him, but I always appreciate the perspective he brings. So would now turn it over to him to provide the closing. And thank you again for GFA for organizing this terrific event.
Hi, can you hear me, Layla? Okay. Thanks to everyone for being over here, and good. I know it's very late, so let's close it very quickly. First of all, I would like to congratulate P4G, Global Fashion Agenda, Liberty Source, BGMEA, and all other participants of this great initiative. And of course, I'm very proud. I'm very, very proud that this kind of project is running in Bangladesh. And it's a very, very, very historical initiatives and day for us. I would like to focus on a few points over here. Like actually, I think we need to redefine the scope of circularity in the context of COVID. It is one of the most important thing because at this moment, factories in Bangladesh having lots of stock, garments, unfinished garments, wastage fabrics, lots of things are there. So we need this type of initiatives of circularity more than ever. And I think this is a very timely initiative which will help to us as a manufacturer, also as a country, and this will ensure that nothing is going to the landfill. Second thing I will tell that capacity build up, our all previous speakers already said. I would like to remind all of you one thing, my dear friends. In Bangladesh, we are not very much habituated about the circular economy. We are not habituated about the circular business model. No, so we need to learn about it. We, the manufacturers, our middle management, our all the associates, we need to embrace this new thing. So I think we need a lot of capacity building. It can be done through a number of workshops, number of training, developments. In a several way, I think this project will help us to do that, because we need to first understand the circular economy and circular business model much better way. One of the previous session, I was just listening to the speaker, and someone is asking to him, how you get success in circular business model? What was your secret? And then he's from, I think Kevin from Nudie jeans, and he was telling that the reason of his success is they also put a lot of incentive. So I will request also to all the buyers and retailer, if you think this is a normal business framework that circularity will be embarrassed to the manufacturer, I will argue that if it is possible to incentivize in many way, it could be through the little bit premium pricing, it could be little bit for a long period of order, whatever the way, but it will help and influence to the manufacturer for that. And when I was listening also to our friend from Simona from OVS, and also Nin was explaining, and also our manufacturing friends from Bitopi was also explaining how difficult for them to source this wastage, and what are the informal way this business is happening. But here I would like to remind one thing, we as an individual or as an organization like P4G, GFA, and representatives, all our friends who are in this project can't solve these kind of things. If this have to be solved, we need to get it policy support. So our government, Bangladesh government, can come forward and help to formulate a new policy, or which can support this type of business model. And I'm sure BGMEA is here, they will do it. And my last thing will be our Honorable President, Dr. Rubana Haq. She's my mentor, and she said that we are exporting $84 million of wastage to the India, and there is a big opportunity. I was also reading a couple of statements of the participant today, like the bestseller was also telling they like to keep these resources of recycling, say, in Bangladesh, and it's also good for the sustainability perspectives also. But I will say that there is a big challenge of finance. In a normal financing way, if we want to set up a recycling plant, or if we want to patent this kind of initiative, normal financing way will not help us, our business people, to establish this type of recycling plant. So I think that we need some financial innovation to support this kind of circular initiatives. And that's all from me. And I'm very proud that this initiative starts from Bangladesh. But I think this project should go to all over the world, and we all should do our best to save this industry, this world, and this planet for tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. I'm very proud of you to be here, and also all of you involved in this project, you must be very proud of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mostafis, and thank you so much, Leila, as well. It's wonderful hearing your closing remarks and the final call for both collaboration throughout the industry, but also for a climate that will facilitate change in the regulatory environment, and also the right financing and mechanisms as well. Very, very valuable closing words. And it's our honor likewise to have you here with us today. So I will now close the session and thank everyone for dialing in, for joining us these last 2 hours to talk more about the 2020 circularity commitments and the new circular fashion partnership. And to express lastly that you're very welcome to join us in this partnership. So brands working in Bangladesh, manufacturers based in Bangladesh, and recycling solutions that can be global are all eligible to join us in this partnership, as are sourcing agents and manufacturers working in the country as well. So just reach out to us via cfp@globalfashionagenda.com, and we'll be willing to share more information about what participation entails and how you can join us. So thank you again very much for being with us today. Here you can see the other team contact details, and of course you can find our 2020 commitment report on globalfashionagenda.com. We'll be sharing the recording and look forward to speaking to you again in an upcoming webinar or in the partnership. Wishing you all a wonderful evening or afternoon or morning wherever you are, and see you again soon.